Christian calling in from Wisconsin. Christian, what's going on?
Hey, Dan and Dan, how are you both?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Having I'm feeling pretty. I already said dandy. I don't know. I'll come up with a pun later. Anyway, what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm from the Wisconsin regions. I live sort of near Madison, and I had a question for Mr. Barker, which is near Madison. I know we have places like State Street and stuff like that inside of Madison, but inside and outside of Madison, what are some good resources for atheism or and basically just secularism in general that you could recommend? And then beyond that, I had a couple other questions if I could, but we'll start with that one.
Yeah, so we have a really nice office in downtown Madison, 2 blocks from the state capitol, and a 5-story building. And we do hold events for members, and we have an auditorium there. So that's one option. If you were a member of FFRF, you would get invitations to some concerts and some lectures. We had Jerry Coyne recently. We had Jared-Dunn, the classical pianist, perform for us. We have a brand new Steinway piano. The Unitarian churches in Madison, the 3 of them are very good. Some of them are believers. You know, Unitarians have no creed, but there's always a good chunk, especially the Prairie Unitarian on the south side of Madison, is pretty much totally secular people. The Frank Lloyd Wright one is also very open and tolerant, and they have a lot of events there. So Unitarians are a good option if you're looking for actual social connections. And the university also has it's called AHA, Atheists and Humanists and Agnostics group, and they hold events, and it's open to anybody who can go to those events. They have an annual Free Thought Festival, for example, where speakers come in from all over the country. So our organization is national, and we actually don't have what you would call a chapter here in Madison because we don't need to. The Dane County, right here where we live, believe it or not, is 54% non-religious. And we had our
Is it actually?
It is, yes. Our U.S. Representative Mark Pocan cited a survey that showed that, because he's a representative, he has to represent this district, the 2nd district. And he says, if more than half of my constituents are non-religious, I have a duty when I go to Congress to represent those people. And he and some other members of Congress, Jared-Dunn, Huffman, Jared Huffman and others, wrote a friend of the court brief in support of one of my lawsuits, making that very point, that the job of the House of Representatives is to represent, right? So Madison's a great place, a great county to be in. Our daughter grew up here, and the Christians in the Madison schools were always a minority. So our daughter was atheist. She had a lot of atheist friends, Jewish friends. There were some Baha'i friends. And one day I saw my daughter and her friend looking at another girl, and she said, you know what? She's a Christian. And Molly looked and she says, really? But she's so nice. You know, you usually hear it the other way around. So Madison is a great town. And I think one of the reasons that we don't have a chapter is that most people in Madison don't have this need. In Waco or in Birmingham or something, you're crying out for somebody to be with. But here in Madison, it's just about half the people you meet are just good, strong non-believers.
Yeah, I've definitely heard like I've told somebody before, like, oh, I'm an atheist, and they were just like, oh, I didn't expect that, and I would just be like, is it because you think I'm kind of nice? And you're like, yeah, actually, that's why. It's like, yeah, I know, it's we exist, we're out there, it's crazy. So,
well, come to Madison, Dan, Objective Dan. You'll have a totally different flavor.
I bet. I've never been to Wisconsin. I've never been that far north, actually. So I don't know. I don't know what it'd be like. It's like every state.
Mr. Barker.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, other Dan, Mr. Objectively Dan. But I wanted to ask, I'm from Rock County. Do you know where that is, Mr. Barker?
Yeah, it's south of here.
Yeah. So I'm from Rock County. There isn't a whole lot of atheists here. It's pretty much just fundamentalist Christianity, especially where I'm from, what would you recommend that someone in my situation would do if they wanted to start those kind of groups, or, you know, bring those kind of groups here to the more southern parts of Wisconsin that don't really have those outreach groups?
Yeah. Well, so I know there's a lot of our members that live down there. My son, for example, lives in Janesville, and he's found some other
I'm
people
from
too.
Janesville.
Oh, really? Okay. So, and I go down there a lot. We just built the playhouse for the grandkids. It was really fun. But we at the Freedom from Religion Foundation, we can't give out our mailing list. So we can't tell you who of our members live there. But if you were to plan something, if you were to plan like a get together or an event that was somehow related to what we do, then we could send a postcard out to people inviting them, and then they could choose to contact you if they wish. And this is how a lot of our chapters got started all over the country. I think we have 25 chapters, maybe, or 20 or 22. And so they come to this event, and then they meet each other and they say, yeah, let's start a group. So that's possible. Something like that could happen in Rock County.
So I think you know this, but Janesville is like Paul Ryan town.
Yeah, yeah.
And we basically, I tried to start a secular school, and they just wouldn't allow it. Like, they were just like, we just really don't need this at our school. And it was kind of disappointing to see those sorts of things happen, but I'll definitely have to look into doing more stuff like that here, because there's a lot of people who I know who won't be open about their non-belief because of the ramifications in places like Rock County. So
yeah, and you know, there's probably a lot of atheists and agnostics, but you just don't know it. They're just keeping their heads down.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it happens sometimes. That's how it works. Well, Christian, thanks so much for calling in. I'm glad you got to talk to Mr. Barker, because he's obviously the best person you could have asked out of all my guests for that specific question, I think. So there you go. That's tailor-made for you. Thanks again for calling in, and look forward to hearing from you next time.